Do we have is do we have our guest on here? There he is. And then John, if you can mute. Yeah, thanks, bro.
Yo,
All
yo,
right,
what's
I'm really excited for this call. So we'll just dive right into it. Ryan Koske is legitimately one of my favorite sales trainers in Pinnacle. Multi President's Club producer. For those that don't know, Ryan, how many times have you hit President's Club?
uh four, I think. Yeah.
4 times. 4 times, not once, not twice, not three, but four. What's been your biggest year?
560, 560.
Let's go. And now you guys are absolutely taking off as a team. I remember Ryan, I remember me and Ryan, dude, we basically started at the exact same time together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
So, which doesn't feel like that long ago, but compared to a lot of people on here, we're grandpas.
I remember sitting in that little training room in that hotel and looking, but you were sitting behind me and being like, dude, who's that dude with the nice hair, bro? Dude's tough.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, I need to get my hair on that level. I'm really excited for this call, so let's dive into it. Ryan, first of all, for all the new agents on this call, talk about your experience getting in the industry and the what were the skill sets that really served you and helped you to develop really quickly in order to get to $40,000 a month as fast as possible.
Yeah, for sure. So I think like as far as like what really helped me was just understanding like I had done sales before. So not doubting whether or not I could sell, right? And life insurance is a product that sells itself. Everybody is going to die. Everybody pays taxes. Life insurance helps with both of the only two guaranteed things in life, death and taxes. So everybody needs it twice in their life, right? So understanding that it's a product that sells itself and then just trusting my own abilities. Not to say not trying to get better, but not doubting myself. Like if you remove self-doubt, there's so much that you can do just with confidence. And then so in my first month, I really, really made sure I was focusing, Jonah, on doing things all of the time that were going to directly drive revenue in my business. So I didn't spend a single second between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. doing something that wasn't going to directly drive revenue. And that really showed through. I remember my first month. Now, this isn't anything like these new guys are doing nowadays. This is a long time ago, but I issue paid like a little over 19,000 my first month. Actually, that was in 3 weeks, and I deposited about 15. Net profited about 12 and a half, which was huge for me because I was coming from making like 3 grand a month. But then those next 3 months, Jonah, I started to focus less and less on like driving revenue, like what I was doing, dialing, talking to people on the phone, giving presentations, door knocking, whatever I was could be doing that was driving revenue. And I focused a lot more on, okay, cool, I'm going to spend more time training or getting better, or working on product knowledge, or other things that weren't directly driving revenue. And then the next 3 months, I made less and less money every month. And finally, month five, I was like, all right, cool, I got to get back to like, driving revenue. And once we started doing that and being confident, I haven't really missed since. But I feel like that's the biggest thing is just making sure like that until you're flush with cash, like the only things you're doing are directly going to drive revenue. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And only spending your time on money making activities. What are a few common mistakes or struggles that you see new agents making that you're bringing into the business within their first 90 days?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is like focusing too much on like knowledge out of training, right? Like out of that training week that Pinnacle gives them. And my guys, I do 2 extra days after the Pinnacle ones where it's kind of like applied training where we're applying the stuff we learned during the corporate trainings. But like everybody, after you go through that, you know literally everything you need to know to be able to write $500,000 a year worth of insurance. Like I promise you do. And there's a point of diminishing returns, Jonah, where once your knowledge of the space and product knowledge and things is about to like a 6 out of 10, then to go from a 6 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10, it really doesn't impact your business that much, like going from a 4 out of 10 to a 5 out of 10 does. But the problem is we try to get to that 10 out of 10 when you really need to only understand that, like, once you're at a 5 or 6, that's plenty proficient. Now you need to work on other things directly driving revenue. I think that's the biggest mistake people make is they start to take their focus off of the things that drive revenue and onto the things that are not as important. Are they important? Do you want to learn them? Absolutely. But the way that I look at it is like, hey, learn those, cross that bridge when you get there, right? Like learn about this different product or this new carrier, this new application, whatever. Learn about that when you need to. But today you need to be focused on putting money in your pocket. If you're in a spot, Jonah, where you can go 2, 3 months and not collect any cash and be fine, then yeah, focus on product knowledge, right? Learn everything you want to learn. But most of us coming into this industry, like we need to make money this week or we're cooked. And if that's you, then stop thinking about things that aren't directly going to drive revenue. I promise you, you know more than everyone you're going to speak to about life insurance, even the people who will tell you, "Oh, I used to be a life insurance agent. I used to do that for a living." All right. Like, you know more than them. There's a reason they're not still selling life insurance, right? And if they were, they wouldn't be on the phone with you. So you know more, but I think that that's probably the biggest mistake that people make is just taking the focus off of those things, and putting it on, trying.
and putting it on, trying.
Yeah, that's good. What to give people the right expectations? Because how much did you produce your first year?
300,000.
All right, 300K. So what was the level like what's the level of focus and tenacity it takes to produce three, four, $500,000 in a year? Especially your first year.
Yeah. So let's break it down. Let's break it down into my, because I started in January. So then I had a full year. My first year had a full year, except for I started the second week of January. So my first 6 months of Jonah, I only wrote $100,000 of insurance. My second 6 months, I actually wrote $200,000 of insurance. So to kind of help out with this, I'm just going to break down what the difference looked like in that first 6 months versus the second 6 months when I was really, really rolling, because that's obviously like your President's Club level pace. So my first 6 months in the industry, like I said, month one I worked really hard. Month five I worked really hard. We're getting a little bit of feedback. That might be from Logan. I don't know who that's from, but
Guys,
uh,
please. Yeah.
and when I say I worked really hard, what I mean is like when I at the time we were in person, right? So if a lead that an appointment that I had that I knocked on their door, if they didn't answer, I was knocking the neighbors' doors. I was talking to anybody I could about insurance. I would look for leads that hadn't answered the phone, and I would go drive to their house and knock on their doors. Jonah, I remember one lady I closed in my first month. Um, Literally the all like this was just pure luck. I mean, I guess it's not luck because you're putting yourself in the right position, but because I was doing extra activity and like door knocking leads that didn't answer, I ran into a lady who I knocked on her door. She answers. She's deaf. I can't communicate with her. I don't know American Sign Language. So her daughter comes to the door and like communicates to me that her mom has been filling out like one form a day, but everybody keeps calling her and she can't talk on the phone. So she was just waiting for someone to come out. And I just happened to be that guy that went that extra step and went and Michelle Redfield, she's still on the book. She lives 20 minutes from me over in Gary. And like I ran into so many deals like that just came so easy because I was doing so much extra in that first month and then also in that second 6 months. But what I started doing months like 2 through 4 or 5 in that first 6 month span when I wasn't writing that much business is I would go hard during my like specified dialing hours, but then like if I didn't book the amount of appointments that I wanted to book or give the amount of presentations I wanted to give, I would just like chill, right? So Monday I would dial and book some appointments, and if I didn't have an appointment till 11 o'clock Tuesday, I wouldn't wake up till 10 on Tuesday. Then I would just show up and do my appointments, and I was really happy just like coasting. And so what I changed my second 6 months is I call them like non-negotiables. So I had an appointment goal that I had to hit no matter what. Like I didn't get to stop dialing. I would dial all day Saturday, all day Sunday till I booked at least 35 appointments for that week. Or nowadays that might look like giving at least 15 presentations. But then I had a stop dialing number too, where if I booked 40 appointments for the week, I wouldn't have to dial anymore. And more often than not, I would hit that 40 appointment by like Wednesday or Thursday, and I was done. Like I didn't have to work at all on the weekends. Like I would just run the appointments that I had. That was it. And establishing that like non-negotiable where I don't stop working until X, and then that like goal of like I get to stop working when I hit Y was really, really important and impactful for me because it really helped me to establish like a rhythm. And I feel like most people, when you get into a rhythm and you're in a flow, you perform so much better. And so I really got into a good like rhythm and flow with my sales process and what I was doing when I was waking up my schedule. And so that second 6 months, like I was really, really good at that. And then just being like uber focused, uber intentional about my time and the time that if I was driving, then I was listening to training videos. If I wasn't driving, I wasn't listening to training videos because that meant I could be dialing and I could be directly driving revenue. So I'd be directly driving revenue and I was only spending like travel time listening to trainings or working on my skill set, my mindset. Like that's all that I would do. And then if I could be dialing, I was always dialing. And it obviously made a huge impact. It took so many hours to like do that 200,000 in that second 6 months. But then the next year, I would say it probably took me like 50 to 60 hours a week. The next year, it probably only took me 35 to 40. And then in the years since, it's really only taken me 25 to 30, 20 to 25 hours a week of personal production to maintain that like consistent 40K, 43K issue paid is what I've averaged. So, and it gets better and better. You get more and more efficient, but you have to be intentional about what you're doing, when you're doing it, and that sort of thing.
Mm. So good. Intentionality is so important. I can see it in somebody's eyes. As I'm walking around the office this week, I look at some guys and I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna be a dog.
Yeah.
Even if he hasn't gotten his first sale, like I know, like he's gonna crush it. And then I also look at some people and I'm like, this guy's just this guy might not work out because looking around and kind of same thing at the gym. Like I
Yeah.
know I know the people in there that are like the guy that's in the gym, locked in on the bench press, focused. I'll see other guys are like they're doing their sets, looking
Yeah.
around, doing this. Is like or they're on their phone. Why did you even come to the gym? You're not even working out. And
Yep.
so it's the same thing with your business. Like you need to have such a high level of focus and urgency. I was talking with dinner. Me and Ronnie were talking at dinner last night, and he sent me an Elon Musk podcast, and on that podcast, he talked about how the one of the traits that has allowed Elon Musk to be highly successful is he has an incredibly high level of urgency in everything he
Mm.
does. Like he needs to get done immediately, right now, quicker, faster, better, stronger, like literally like to the point where he's psychotic, sleeping on the floor of the factory. But
Yeah.
that's what you need to do in your business. And it's anybody that's the level of business you build has a direct correlation with your level of urgency. And so I was and like you look at anybody that's winning, like Jake Rotterman, like he's in this office, like he's always like he always has an agenda, he's always doing it, he's always
And you've never,
Joe
have you
Baz,
had any
Akash, can you please mute? And then, for example, like when I was telling the guys this morning, when I went out to Jersey this last fall, I was in the office right beside Joe. Dude, I didn't even like
Melissa?
we got there at 8. I didn't see Joe for the entire day. He didn't even get up to go to the bathroom.
Melissa, this is
I did like
Alicia.
6 hours late. Guys, can we please mute here? 6 hours late, like 6, 7 hours later, I had to go knock on his door to like make sure he's okay. Cause I'm like, he hasn't left. Like he's like, yeah, dude, sorry, I've been back to like, and I saw his calendar like back to back to back to back to back. Like that's the level of intentionality you guys need to have. And it's no wonder Pinnacle's growing like crazy.
Mhm.
Guys are putting up, it's just we're recruiting a lot. The people that produce the most have the highest level of urgency in their business. What would you say to the person that's struggling getting into presentations because they either lack confidence in themselves or they're simply too nice? Hey, Damon, can
Yeah.
you please mute? Can we stay muted, guys? Thank you.
Yeah, I would just say like, first of all, if you just act confident, eventually you're going to become confident, right? Because what you if in order to be do be have, right? That's the saying that I use. First you must do, then you can be, then you can have, right? So if you want to be something or have something, you want to have a lot of money, you want to close a lot of deals, you've got to do the thing that's going to get that, right? When you do the thing, be confident and give presentations, you're going to be the person that gives more presentations and you can be that, then you'll be able to have it, right? So
Compound.
it's a weird complex, right? Because you have to be confident in order to gain confidence in the first place. Because if you're not confident the entire way, you're never going to gain confidence in yourself. So you got to fake it till you make it on that, bro. Like, because, like, listen, let me tell you that if you talk to enough people, you will run into people where you say the wrong thing the entire time. I have given presentations where I've misquoted them as like it's a male and he's a smoker, and I quoted them as a female non-smoker. And any of you guys who know anything about the insurance space, you know that means it's drastic, like double to triple the price. And I've still closed. Why? Because there's people who just want it. And if you continually put yourself out there in the right place, then the right things are going to happen to you, right? Like if you look at the story of like David in the scriptures, right? Like it's not like David's first battle was Goliath. That wasn't the first thing that God had him do, right? God sent him a flock of sheep, a very unassuming job to 10. And then what happens? A lion comes and attacks him, he takes care of that. A bear comes and attacks him after that, he takes care of that. So like my guy was already like a certified G before he ever got to Goliath because he was putting himself in the right place and building that confidence along the way. So like it wasn't that big of a stretch for him to think, bro, I could take out Goliath when he's already taken out a lion and a bear with his bare hands, right? Like not that big of a deal. And so we got to manufacture that same kind of thing where we're putting ourselves in the positions to be able to win. Because guys, let me like with people in our age group, like 30 and younger, dude, there is such a huge divide. If you can be intentional and you can be disciplined and work hard, I promise you 10 years from now, you are going to be so many light years ahead of your peers. Like, look around, look at TikTok, Instagram, all these little kids dancing around. Like, it's like, bro, like, it's kind of disgusting how sad our day and age is right now and how sad the individuals we are. Like, it's not that difficult to distinguish yourself and stand apart from everybody else, but you just got to bring that level of intensity and intentionality. And dude, I had someone ask me, Jonah, one time, how do you know like when you're in the wrong room, right? The people are just bringing you down. And I said, dude, you're asking the wrong question. The question you need to ask is, are you bringing life and energy into the room that you're going into? That's the question you need to ask. Not like, oh, are these people hurting me? Like, no, are you being someone that you would want to be around? Because what's going to happen is the people that don't want to be around someone like you, they're going to leave and you're going to put yourself around people that are going to edify you. The people who don't want to be edified, they're not going to be with you. The people who don't want to grow, you're going to outgrow them and you'll put yourself in the right positions. But if you don't put yourself in the right positions to gain that confidence, to get the wins, you're never going to have that confidence in the first place. If you don't get that confidence, then there's not that much that you can do. And I think when you're confident, like when you're not confident, I think people act too nice, right? Because we like, oh, if they like me, maybe they'll let me, they'll buy from me, right? That's not the case. People don't buy from people they like. People buy from someone who's genuine, someone that they can trust. And if you're being fake nice to someone, they know they can't trust you. I guarantee you, if I ask for a show of hands, everybody on this call would raise their hand when I ask this question. Like, do you feel like you can spot a fake person from a mile away? Everybody's going to raise their hand. Like, oh, yeah, definitely me. Guess what? That is not like a superpower that's unique to you. The entire human race has that. We can all smell when you're being fake and it reeks, and your clients can smell it too. So if you're being fake nice, you're building fake rapport, like your clients are going to sense that. But when you're just genuine and you're confident and you genuinely care about them and you head in with a goal and a job to do and you try to get that job done, you're going to give way more presentations. People are going to follow you. You're going to be a lot more attractive for people just to follow you and listen to what you say, if that makes sense. Hopefully I answered your question. I feel like I got on a tangent there.
That was great. That was really good. Guys, here's a statistic that I read not too long ago where 4% of Americans make over $100,000 a year. 2% of Americans make over $200,000. The percentage of Americans that make over $1 million a year is 0.1% of Americans. And it's a fact, look it up. So a lot of you on this call, and if you're not asking this question, you should be asking yourself, how do I get to $1 million a year in income as quickly as possible? Because $1 million a year now is $100,000 when our parents were our age. With inflation, cost of living, everything else, $1 million really isn't a ton of money in today's day and age when you break it down after you pay taxes, after you pay expenses, have a few kids, et cetera, et cetera. And so in order to get there, well, how do I get to that level? In order to become $1 million earner and be the 0.01%, well, you've got to be a 0.1% level individual. So it requires developing every day, putting in the work, showing up, managing stress, and becoming the type of person that is that demographic of individual. And that's what I love about the insurance industry, where we have all the tools at our disposal for that. Like every single one of you on this call has direct mentorship to multimillionaires, to President's Club producers, high level agency owners, everything you guys need. What what makes me absolutely what's so funny to me is when somebody goes, my upline is holding me back. I'm like, I don't even I don't even know what that means. My it's dude, can you are you talking to me now? Do I answer the phone every time you talk to me? Can you talk to Joe Basso? Can you call Ryan Koske? Can you call so and so? Can you talk to the it's like
Yeah.
if they're not doing like just go talk to somebody else and I'll ask them if I want to do it. So the where I'm going with that, Ryan, is I want to ask you, and actually before I ask Ryan the question, every single one of you on this call, I want to implore you guys, am I the type of agent that should be receiving mentorship? Because
Mm.
that's one thing that's not talked about a lot. It's one of those things where people are like, oh, it's this person, it's this person's fault. Well, it's like, dude, would you invest in a stock that's not performing? Well, then why would you expect somebody why would you expect somebody to pour into you? And the amount of times that I talk to somebody and they're like, and I give them advice and they come back to me and they want a one-on-one and they're like, dude, I'm struggling. And I'm like, well, did you do what we talked about the last time? Well, no, because and then I tell them the same thing again and we have the same conversation and they come back 3 weeks later and it's this ongoing cycle. So talk to us, Ryan, about I have like 7 questions I could rattle off. But first question, what are the character traits of a successful agent that you see coming into the business? And
Yeah,
and here's the thing, it's not something that people are like innately equipped with. Like, what are the character traits that people need to develop to have success? And this is where I'm going with that.
yeah. I think that the answer to that is like I need someone who's going to figure it out. If you're waiting for me to tell you exactly what to do, exactly what button to click, what link to click on to get your state license when the instructions are there, brother, we are not going to work out, dog, because I am not going to hold your hand through this entire thing. And if I have to hold your hand as soon as I stop holding your hand, well, now Jonah stops walking and you know what I'm saying? Like doing those things, right? So that to me is always the biggest thing. Like, is this person someone who, no matter what, is not going to be denied? Because someone who isn't going to be denied, they're gonna win. It doesn't matter where they're at or who stands in their way, what stands in their way. Like they're just gonna win. Jonah, I kid you not. When I got out to my first house to give my first presentation, I didn't know the name of a single carrier that we worked with. I promise. The only thing I had was the financial inventory. That's all that I had. So I called my upline. I'm like, yo, this is the situation. What do I do? He's like, oh, do, and he names this carrier. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, do Mutual of Omaha. And I was like, I don't know what that is. He's like, well, haven't you like logged in? I'm like, no. He's like, okay, well, like type in www, and he tells me the literally tells me the URL bar. Now, it's not that we didn't have any training, right? Back when we first started, there was literally no training. There wasn't a course, there wasn't anything you went through. It was like hopefully your upline spent a good bit of time with you. Unfortunately, mine was really busy, like did a great job in a lot of areas. That wasn't one of them. That's okay. But the point is, Jonah, I wasn't going to be denied, right? So I left that appointment and guess instead of being like, nobody told me, I said, you know what? I better learn a little bit so I can be prepared before my next one. And so I got ready and I learned what I could learn. And I made sure that the next time I stepped into that scenario, instead of blaming somebody else for me not being prepared, I was prepared because I'm the one who made me prepared. Like I wasn't going to be denied. And if you take that intentionality and that extreme ownership into your life, like your business is going to succeed, you're going to succeed. There's not going to be anything that you can't do. I would say that that's honestly like the number one thing that I'm looking for. And then the number two thing is just someone who's like humble and doesn't have a huge ego. Because if you already know everything, then I can't teach you anything, bro. Like I just can't. And listen, undoubtedly, there's lots of people I've brought onto my team that are more talented than I am, that are smarter than I am, right? I've been doing this longer though. And if they're not willing to say, you know what, I might not know that much, I should take a second and learn, then I can't help them. Like I just straight up can't. And if you ask for advice, Jonah, and I give you a piece of advice, like if you take my time to call me and ask what you should do, and I tell you what I think you should do, and you say, I'm gonna do my own thing anyway, dude, nothing's gonna piss me off more than that, right? Because that means your ego is just so huge. You think it's okay to like literally call me and waste my time. Like if you were just gonna do whatever you wanted to do, just do it. Like don't involve me in that. Like don't waste my time with that. And so you just have to, and it's not that you have to think you're terrible, just a little bit of humility and understanding the people that have been there longer, they know a little bit more than I do. They've been down this road, they've experienced this, they've came out the other side successful. And if you can do those two things, if you can be humble and you can learn and grow, and then of course, like just have that attitude where it doesn't matter what happens, you're going to be the person that makes it happen. Like that person's going to win every single time.
That's really good. And a part of it is we're busy. We don't want, it's like one of those things where as a mentor and as a leader, if you're building a sales team, you understand is like, well, you obviously don't want to waste your time because it's a
Yeah.
business. But thirdly is, we genuinely have an extremely high level of care for the people in our business.
Yeah.
And there is literally nothing that I won't do, Ryan won't, Claudia, that like we will do to be successful. And the truth is, the best mentors I've had in my life, they never gave me the answer.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, if I didn't care and I was just trying to be efficient, it's like somebody comes to my office like, I do this. This is what you need to do. Go do it. So we need to do. It's that cliche saying, it's you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You
Yeah.
teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. The best mentors that like really cared about me, poured into me, they took enough time to ask a series of questions, and then they made me come up with the solution by
Yeah.
digging deep and asking questions. And so that's what I do with any agent that I speak with, is like anybody that's had a one-on-one who knows is like Jordan's not just gonna he's gonna really dig deep, and it's not, there's a surface level here, but then you got to
Yeah.
go a lot of times you got to go a few layers beneath that. And the only way to have an effective conversation, well, any conversation, any relationship is a two-way street. So
Mhm.
like if you have an agent where it's like, all right, dude, so like, hey, how's it going? Oh, it's good. Okay. Well, like, where would you say you're struggling the most right now in your sales process? I need to close more. Okay. Well, what, and it's like, and then I'm like, okay, well, oh, I'm not tracking my numbers. And then, all right, well, like, all right, specifically, like, where has room for the most? And it's like everything. It's like, I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, you cannot even give him anything to help you out with. So having the ability to self-analyze and self-diagnose, where it's like if I went to Joe Basso and said, Joe, tell me how to grow a bigger business. And then he would ask me a question. And if I'm like, I just want to grow, just like he would laugh at me. He'd be like, dude, like every conversation I have with Joe is like, I'm Joe's not like giving, he's busy. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey Joe, this is where I'm at right now. All right, what do you think about this? Hey, this is our revenue last month. All right, I'm thinking about investing in this, or this. What do you think is the best? Hey, this is the situation I'm dealing with. How would you recommend I handle it? Hey, this is
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. And then you have those types of conversations. That's what gives, as anybody that's a leader on this call, dude, that's what just gives me energy and fuels me up.
Yeah.
Anytime there's somebody that's like low energy, low vibrations, and it becomes redundant, well, it's like, I mean, dude, it's like I want, as a leader, our number one priority, number one job is we want to provide value. Well, it's
Hmm.
like in order to provide value, it has to be received and applied. So
Yeah.
where I'm going with that is I want to ask you, Ryan, because you've been doing one-on-ones with your agents for quite a while.
Yeah.
Like what is an effective structure to properly run your one-on-ones?
Yeah, I think number one, I think a lot of times we as leaders, we get upset, and I'm guilty of this. When I say we as leaders, I mean me. So I'll get upset when someone shows up to a call without their numbers, but I never set that expectation where they needed to have their numbers there in the first place. So whatever you would want and expect somebody to show up, they need to know what's expected of them. Because let's be honest, as much as like I'll sit up here and say it's all on you, right? Which it is, it does help to know some things to be prepared, right? So make sure that you tell them, bro, you got to have your numbers and you got to diagnose the situation yourself. Don't come to me with a problem, right? Don't say, how do I solve this? Come to me with an issue you're facing and say, hey, I've done XYZ already. I'm thinking about doing this. What's your thoughts? And come approach it like that. Because, like you said, Jonah, if you're just asking what's the answer, well, you're asking the wrong question. You need to be asking, how do I find the answer for this so I can solve it the next time before having to come to you without having to like go for 3 weeks without making a sale, right? So as far as effective one-on-ones, your agents need to know what you want from them. For me, I want 3 months of numbers, dials, contacts, appointments, presentations, closes, lead spend, deposits. I want all those numbers. So I have a form if they want to book on my calendar, which everybody has an open invitation on my team to book on my calendar whenever they want. If they don't have their numbers, though, we start the call. If they don't have their numbers, it immediately gets ended. I laugh, I chuckle, and I say, ha ha, good one, Jonah. Text me when you have your numbers, and I end the call literally immediately. I did this twice last week because I don't play, right? If you don't put your numbers on there, you don't get my time. Because what happens, Jonah, is when someone hops on, and this brings me to the second point. So, A, they need to know what's expected of them. B, it has to start with the numbers because everybody feels a certain way. I feel like I had an agent this morning who felt like he was losing a lot of people to not wanting to give them not wanting to give him social. So luckily we had the numbers, and it was only two out of his last 20 presentations. So we were able to say, oh, all right, social's not that big of a deal. It just happened to be 2 times that you got that yesterday. So it feels like a big deal. So maybe we don't need to focus on social. We need to focus on something else. And when you lead with the numbers and you actually know what's going on, you can actually help. Because, like, Jonah, imagine with me for a moment if I took my car to the shop and they didn't check the codes. They didn't run any tests. They just started swapping parts out. You're like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, you're gonna like break something that's already good. Like, what are we doing? That's exactly like what asking for help or trying to give advice as a mentor without looking at their numbers is like. My number one thing, and this is what I tell everybody to hop on with Jonah. Look, Jonah, I don't want to change. If I don't have to change anything about what you're saying on the calls, I don't want to. Because the worst thing that I could do for you is tell you to make a change or add this or take this away and it hurts you, it makes you worse, you lose confidence and you start closing less. So it like my job, I view my number one job as a mentor, not to change what you're doing, but to give you more confidence to do the things you're doing well, more and better. Like that's my number one job is to give you more confidence to go out and do the things that you're doing well, do more of them and do them better. And if there's something that is hurting you along the way that I discover, like I'll bring that up, but that's not my main goal. So, first of all, make sure they're prepared. Second of all, it always has to start with the numbers because otherwise it's going to get emotional and you don't know what you're going to fix. And then the third thing, and this is the one that I should really struggle with, which I just kind of mentioned, I'm super analytical. I love diving into the sales process. I will analyze every single pause, every single word, every single facial expression that I have. And sometimes I have the tendency to like force that onto to my agents where I'm like over critiquing everything that they're doing. And what I learned is, dude, sometimes I make them lose a lot of confidence because I give them a list of 100 things that I'll listen to a call recording. I'll give them a list of 100 things they did wrong. And so I realized like that's not the way to do it, right? So what I have to do is I have to listen to what they're saying, listen to one of their call recordings, analyze it, write down in order of importance what's the 2 to 3 biggest things that are hurting them or standing in the way of them in success. And then I'll tackle those 3 things. And I try to make sure that I spend the beginning of the call and the end of the call being encouraging. So I always start the call with, hey, I noticed you've done these 4 things really, really well. I actually took what I learned from you, Jonah, what I heard you do, and I use it in another call, and I loved it, dude. It was awesome. I also see your closing ratio has gotten X amount better over the last month. Like, this is great. We're getting a lot of good work in. And then I end the call with, I always, and then I'll, tell them they need to change. And then I always end the call with, hey, look, dude, I know I told you a lot of things that were, you know what I'm saying, that like we needed to do better, but I don't want that to make you lose confidence. You're doing so many things really, really well. We obviously need to get to that next level. We need to be analytical about what we're thinking about, but please don't let a call like this make you lose confidence. Because the worst thing that I could do for you is you have less confidence leaving this call than you had before. And you need to have more confidence because if you have more confidence, you're going to close deals. So just making sure I always start with encouragement and admonishment and end with encouragement and admonishment. And then the last thing is just always an actionable item. Like I don't ever want to leave a mentorship call without Jonah thinking, okay, I know exactly what it is that I need to work on or exactly what I need to do. So for instance, if Jonah needs to work on why building, then I'll give him an exercise to do with a peer or with his, direct mentor every day to work on why building. Or if it's like I need to give more presentations, well, then we'll have like a contact goal for each day based on the presentation. So there just needs to be some sort of action item that they can go out and achieve. It can't be like, hey, work on this, figure it out. But like I need to be able to give them like, hey, this is exactly what you need to do to be able to get to fix that problem, if that makes sense.
That was really well said. That was really well said. Because just like anything in life, there's a balance to it.
Yeah.
And and I wanna switch gears to the perspective of a from a mentor because any effective leader, one of my favorite books is Massive Account or Extreme Ownership by
Yeah.
Jocko Willink, which is implies taking massive ownership and anything that could go wrong, it's always even if it's not your fault, it's your fault. It's always your
Yeah.
fault. And that's a character trait of a successful leader and an effective leader. So I'm always thinking about, how can we provide more value? How can we be better? How can we show up for our guys? How can we provide a higher level of support? And I think here's the evolution of any a new manager getting into the business. What they learn, and if you're new to recruiting, or even if you've been a recruiter, like write this down. You cannot save anyone who does not want to be saved.
Yeah. It's huge.
Because there's a Steve Jobs quote where it's hard to connect the dots looking forward, but it's really easy to connect the dots looking backwards. So
Mm.
as a leader, it's not our job to save our people because there's only one savior. And what happened to him? He got crucified. So if you try to save your people, you're going to end up killing yourself in the process, and you cannot want it more for somebody than they want it for themselves. So
Yeah.
it's like anytime like you get like your first round of recruits, like I got my starting five, I'm going to pour into them, I'm going to give them everything. And then it's like, they may not be the right fit or they may not work out, or you may like over equip them. There's 100 different things that could happen. So then it's like, all right, well, it's like, all right, it's simple business. And then, you get your next round of recruits and it's like, all right, we'll just dial more dial the phones.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we gotta figure out some sort of balance here, because you never want to tear is too far in either spectrum. So to Ryan's point, because dude, Ryan has mastered the sales process. He's hit President's Club 4 years in a row. He knows how to sell. So it's like when you're that high, like it's like if you played basketball with Kobe Bryant. It's like, dude, he could probably have a list of 100 things like where you need to improve on, even if you're a really good basketball player, just because he's such a high. But like you got somebody here, and if you're way up here, like you can't get him up to here in one day. So everybody on this call, write down what is the number one thing that I need to improve on this week. Where am I weakest in my sales process? Not four or five things, just one thing. And for the leaders on this call, when you have your one-on-one calls with your agents, that's all you need to do is to diagnose and say, hey, where are you struggling the most right now in your business? Where has room for the most improvement? Oh, I'm doing good. Like, I don't accept no for an answer. Like, there's always, even now, like where I'm at, like there's always something. Doesn't matter what level you're on. There's always something that can be improved. So like, where I'm always thinking, where am I failing right now? Where am I failing in my business? I'm incredibly self-critical towards myself. I'm the biggest critic towards. So like that's where you guys always need to be thinking, and then just pick one, maybe two things, and then just work on perfecting that. And then once that's solved, then you're going to move on. Because, Ron, what would you say? Because I think another commonality with agents coming into this business, where we all know that the worst thing you can do when you're struggling is like try to switch up too many variables or not stick to the script, not stick to your structure. And everybody's heard that. They're like, okay, that, whatever. But let me ask you, like, why is that the case?
Yeah, because I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like, if you take the car to the shop and they just start changing parts out, well, now you might change something that's actually working really well and it makes you do worse and then you lose confidence. So, Jonah, whenever I'm struggling or one of my agents are struggling, I have a checklist that I go through, right? A, well, how's my workflow been? Like if I'm doing worse now than I was before, the first thing I ask myself is, and everybody should write this down, by the way, because this is how you're going to get yourself out of the S word, a slump. We're not going to say that word again for the entire call, okay? But this is how you get yourself out of that position. A, how's my workflow? Is it the same? Is it less? Is it more? If it's the same or more than it was before and I'm producing less, then cool. Don't worry about the workflow. Keep doing the same things. Second thing, how's my lead flow? Did I change lead types? Did I change lead vendors? Am I buying fewer leads? Am I buying more leads? Sometimes you buy more leads, the pressure's on to do better, and you start to like crack underneath that pressure, right? So identify, and the goal is to identify what happened because everybody that I do a one-on-one call with Jonah who's like not doing that well now, but they were before. The first thing I ask is, okay, Jonah, let me just ask you something. Last month you felt like you were doing really good. They're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, okay. Do you feel like you're worse at selling now or better than you were last month? They're like, better. I'm like, okay, okay, okay. So it's not like there's nothing going on. So let's figure it out, right? And then we go through this. So workflow, lead flow, what changed? If you find something that changed, then that's it, right? Just get that back to what you were doing before. And then the third thing is how's my sales process, right? Is my sales process the same? Am I saying things differently? Am I doing things different? Did I change up scripts, tactics? Like, what am I doing different? Identify what you're doing differently than you were doing before, because that's what's going wrong. And if 1 through 3 is all good, hey, I'm working harder than I was before. I'm buying more leads than I was before, and I'm doing the same, I'm saying the same exact things. Then, Jonah, what it always comes down to is confidence. Something happened in your life that led to you losing confidence and it started spiraling out of control. It can be a lot of different things. It could be something in your personal life a family matter. Maybe you broke up with somebody. It could be something business wise where you stepped out and you purchased a lot more leads, but you didn't see a return that week, and now it hurt your confidence. And so you got to identify that, figure out what happened that made you lose your confidence, understand that that's an isolated incident, that that's not going to happen again, and get your confidence back to where it needs to be. And if we really look at those things analytically, guys, like we're not going to struggle that much with sales slumps because like we're going to know exactly what's going wrong. And Jonah, the most frustrating thing as a new agent is when I'm working hard, or not even a new agent, a veteran agent, when I'm working hard but I'm not seeing the results, I just don't know what happened. I remember one time, Jonah, I had a call with a guy who had already hit President's Club for the year. It's November. He's already hit like 450,000. He calls me. He's like, Ryan, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't sell anymore. I'm like, bro, chill, chill, chill. Like, you're that guy, okay? Like, you already hit over 450,000 this year. So, like, let's not freak out. You know how to sell. And so I heard him out a little bit. So I asked him, okay, how's your workflow been? He's like, oh, it's been the same. I'm like, okay, well, how's this? How's that? How's that? And everything was good. And I said, okay, well, what happened then? Where did your mindset start to become different? And he said, well, I committed to hitting, 100,000 in November and December each. And so I stepped up my lead flow. And week one, I didn't have a good week and I got behind and I just felt really stressed out because I was way behind. I said, okay, okay, okay. That's all that happened is you just felt like you were behind and you let that affect you and you brought it into your sales process. And Jonah, I can't tell you how many times it's nothing that you're doing, right? You're not doing anything differently. You're not doing anything wrong. There's just one little pebble that got into the wheel, and then that's what's causing all these problems. We just don't identify it, and all of a sudden the engine's blowing up because we never just took a second to step back and then try to inspect what it was that happened, what caused things to go wrong. So workflow, lead flow, sales process, what happened to my confidence, right? Those are the four things that I go through to try to figure that out.
That's really good. That's really good. And it comes down to that's why you guys have to the higher level of organization you can have, the more money you're gonna make.
Yeah.
Like you have to, I implore you guys have to be super, super organized in this business. If you're not, you're gonna struggle. Like you've got to have your book of business, you got to, and I'm not saying like organization of like some crazy system. It's no, dude. Have your book of business, make sure you're tracking your clients. All right, submitted, approved, underwriting, pending requirements. All right, this time on my calendar, this is the time I take care of my pending requirements. I'm getting this pushed through. Organization of my thoughts, you're writing notes out to yourself of like how was this week. I'm not a big like I guess I technically journal, but I write something out. I have the date for the day and I type something out to myself every single day. Something I
Yeah.
need to work on, something I'm struggling with, something I learned, something interesting. And I'm always going through it. And then when I'm with different people, like even when I was first starting building the business, I had a running notes list of like of questions for Joe Basso. So every time I was around Joe Basso, like I had a list and I didn't tell Joe until like a couple years later. I was like, Joe, like, but I would always like, I'd be with Joe and I'd be like peeking at it. And then I'd be like asking, because like, I was prepared. I was prepared. I was organized. If I want to have questions for so-and-so, like this person, all right, I'm going to do this, with this call today, I typed out a couple things. I'm like, all right, like this is the topic. This is what I want to go over with Ron. It's like you guys, the bigger business you want to build, the higher level of organization you guys need to have within yourself. So not only organization, but also taking into time to self-reflect because it's really important to be in that community. Like you look at, there's no coincidence that every single top producer we have in our company is plugged into an office. I wonder why. Okay, cool. All right. I need to get around people. I need to get around high performers. I need to get in that environment. Like that's huge. But also, guys, don't take time, like don't forget to take time to self-reflect. And it's not like that's why I do breath work. I do breath work every day, and it's 10 minutes. Like that's why breath work is powerful, or even if you just sit in a room without your phone for 5, 10 minutes and just think. That is one thing that people have done less of now than ever before, and it's literally destroying people's brains. Like you guys need to have like it's really hard to develop when you're always around people. So taking that time, taking 10, 15, 20 minutes a day where you just sit and think of like, all right, how was my week? What did I do well? What do I need to improve on? What am I working on? Where do I need to be? What's the vision? And writing those things out and maybe like and then write it down. Like the amount of times that I'll have a like I'll be like right before I go to bed, I'll have a thought, I'll have like a really good idea. And then I'll be like, oh, like I'm just gonna like I'll write it down tomorrow or like I'll do it tomorrow. You always forget it when you wake up the next day. It's like if I have a thought and I don't sleep with my phone in my bedroom, so like I have to like physically get up, go to my phone. I've done this countless times, go to my phone, write it down, or sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and like I'm immediately writing stuff down. So, doing that and being able to like have that level of organization is guys like it sounds so simple, but it's so powerful when it comes to building the business and developing as an individual. So what are some other effective tools, Ryan? Because we're almost out of time here, but what are some other effective tools that have really allowed you to either produce on a high level or help agents and really get them going and get them to that next level?
Yeah, I think just like one of the biggest ones that like recently I've kind of like I'm not gonna say uncovered or discovered, but one thing recently that I realized is a big deal is just understanding in like the sales funnel, like where are your clients, right? So you have people who are just curious about your product, then you have people who are problem aware, right? They know they have a problem, they just don't know that there's a solution. This is your people that are like, hey, I want coverage, but I'm too old or it's too expensive, right? And then you have people who are solution aware, right? They know that there's a solution. And then you have people with intent to buy, right? And I think a lot of times we treat everybody the same. We treat someone who's just curious like someone who has intent to buy. And that's why we don't get into more presentations. And ultimately, Jonah, this is what I've been really trying to figure out for my team. Like, how do we just maximize the people that we talk to give as many presentations as possible? And it's just understanding like identify where people are at, right? Is Jonah aware that he has a problem? If he's not aware that he needs mortgage protection and when he dies, something happened, Claudia couldn't pay the bills. Well, then I need to stop trying to convince him that this is the best product ever. And I need to just, as fast as I possibly can, show him that there's a problem here. If I can show him that there's a problem, he'll listen. The same thing goes, Jonah, with people who are aware of a problem, just not aware of a solution. When they say it's too expensive, they're aware of a problem. They just don't know that there's a solution. And sometimes we don't really put that problem to bed. We don't put that objection that, like, hey, it's too expensive to bed. Like, you need to let them know as soon as you can. Dude, Jonah, you're 67. I helped an 89-year-old get coverage last week, and it was less than $100 a month, dog. Like, we're good. Right on trip. I got you. I'm the guy. Right. And just put that completely to bed instead of saying, well, I shop around upon a carrier, so I'll help you find, like, just
The
for real. Like,
objections are not magically going to go away if you ignore them.
yes, exactly. So just putting that to bed, let them know that there is a solution because, dude, I've listened to so many calls and I've realized with my agents that they're not understanding where people are at. And if you know where someone's at and you know where you need to take them, then it's easy to lead them down that path. But I don't think that we're identifying where people are at. So you have your people who are just curious, but they're not aware of a problem. If that's your client, show them the problem ASAP. Stop rapport building. They don't want to be on the phone with you. Identify what the problem is and point that out to them, right? And the people who know they have a problem, they don't know that there's a solution, as fast as you possibly can, put that objection that they have, whatever reason they think that there's not a solution, if they're too old, it's too expensive, they don't want something that expires or whatever. Put that to bed as soon as you can because you need them to listen to you and you've got to give them a reason to listen to you. If they feel like they have a problem and you have a solution, they will stay on the phone with you. But one of those two things is not there. That's why they're not wanting to stay on the phone with you. So, like, identify, okay, what did I miss with this guy? Was he aware of a problem? Was he aware of a solution? Okay, then I must have just dropped the ball, fumbled the bag somewhere. But one of those two things went wrong. And so, what we've started doing is some like exercises, Jonah, in like what I'll do is we'll time my agents and I'll have like a mock scenario in my head, like a problem that needs to be solved, and I'll time my agents and we'll see who can get there in the least amount of questions or the least amount of time, like who can identify the problem in the least amount of time. And I think that that's a really, really powerful tool to take into your sales calls because like people don't want to hear the fluff, they don't want to hear a giant sales pitch. They need to know I have a problem. Jonah has a solution. If they know those two things, they'll listen to you. So find the problem ASAP, give them the solution. When I say give them the solution, I don't mean the price. I mean, let them know that you have the solution, and they'll listen to you. But I hope that helps because that's something recently that's really helped with me and my agents. You know what I'm saying? Like in giving more presentations, is identifying where in that funnel people are at and where I need to move them to the next step, if that makes sense.
Ryan, everything you say is this is so good. I love these kind of conversations because every time you talk, just think of another 10 questions I want to rattle off in my head. So we're gonna move quick. We're gonna try to be as intentional as we can with the next 9 minutes of this call. Let me ask you, what is the biggest shift that you see from a 20K producer to getting to that $40,000? Like, what's the one thing that they implement in their business that gets them from 20 to 40?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give you two things because I think that there's some like mindset, like practicality things, and then there's some actual like sales tactics things, right? So I would say on the practicality side, they keep everything the same. They're just upping their lead spend.
Boom.
Sounds easy, but that's it. Like the guy who's doing 20K and the guy who's doing 40K, 80% of the time they're doing the same thing. The guy who's doing 40K is just spending more. So if you just spend more, you're fine. The problem is, Jonah, what we try to do is we want to write 40K on a 20K lead spend. And then we're like, no, you don't suck, dog. Like you're actually fantastic. You're writing 25K on what should return you 15K. Like you're way better than I would ever be, right? You're just not putting enough money in to get what you want out. And so that's
How
literally
much,
all that it is.
how much does somebody need to be spending to write 40, be spending a week on leads to write 40,000?
I'm gonna give you like reliable, what you can count on. So if you just divide whatever you want to write, divide that by five, and that's what you need to spend. So if you want to write 40K, you need to spend eight. And that's if you want to consistently every single month, never fail to hit 40K. Now, could you spend six, seven and hit 40K sometimes? Absolutely. But that's where it's dangerous because you'll spend five, hit 40, but the next month you'll spend five and hit 10. But it averages out to where, okay, that I spent 10,000 and I wrote 50,000. One month was just great. One month was really bad. You know what I'm saying? Where it's really up and down. So you got to divide it by five and write that. But then on the sales tactics
Can I
side,
stop you right there?
go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, Simon, it's 8,000 a month, not 8K a week.
Oh, 8K a week would be insane, bro. You'd be writing like 50 freaking K weeks, right? You'd be 200 a month. That'd be insane. Try it though. That'd be awesome.
You well, I mean, Damon, I mean, dude, it's just, I was just having this conversation with Damon. Damon is a very high level sales individual.
Yeah.
He can close. He's a closer. He's got an 87% closing percentage. Pretty dang good. Even Damon will tell you if you ask him, I am not that good.
Yeah.
I was just talking to an agent here in the office and he was like, yeah, dude, when I started, I thought I was going to be a 40K a month producer buying 70-cent leads. Turns out you were right. I'm just like, and it blows my, it sounds like common sense, but it blows my mind how many people have a low lead spend and and then they wonder, well, why am I not writing more? It's you are, it's A, you're not as talented as you think, but B, and write this down. Like, listen to me when I'm telling you, you are not the exception to the rule. So many times, and I see it in people's face where they hear something, hear where it's like, yeah, well, that's true, but I mean, it's true for the majority of people, but like I mean, I can close. You're not the exception. So if you want to write 40, it's guaranteed. I have legitimately, and I have seen hundreds and hundreds of people. Same thing with Ryan. Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong. Have you ever seen one person ever consistently spend $8,000 a month in leads and not do 40K?
No, not if they're working and showing up.
Yeah. So it's like, and guys, I want to touch on this because I think that's a common issue that a lot of agents have where they have a scarcity mindset. And ultimately, what it comes down to is the low belief level in yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're telling yourself, hey, my because the thing is, and where people get it twisted is if I hammer this lead batch that I've called 27 other times and I've been calling the past week and a half, hoping and praying that I can squeeze another one, two sales out of it. Do you think they can?
Nope.
The truth is, they probably could. You probably could
That's true.
if you work it long enough, but you're completely undervaluing. You're saying, hey, my $800 is more valuable than me as an individual. Like you're putting a dollar amount on yourself as a person. You're saying, hey, that this like me investing into myself and my business, like no, like I'm not worth that much. Like you got to think about your time, dude. Like if you gave me a crappy batch of leads that I've like if I just sat there and dialed it 12 hours a day for the next week and a half, like yeah, like I might get another sale, hopefully. But like you just like what are you doing? Like you talk about a negative mindset, like that makes me want to kill somebody. That's terrible. But if you got, we all know that feeling, a lot of people, but the feeling of, dude, I got a fat stack of leads and a fresh stack. Dude, I can't wait to get in the office tomorrow because I'm gonna close. Like it's like, and then like you're calling people, you're having conversations, you're having actual quality conversations because it's new
Mm.
people. All right, then you're getting more momentum, then you're getting more confidence, you're getting in more presentations, so then you're closing. So then your confidence goes up, and now that your confidence goes up, you're having more at bats, and then the skill set. It's this whole compounding thing, and it compounds upon each other. But you have like it has to be that you have to commit to a consistent weekly lead spend, and then the amount of times I've heard, well, like, well, I didn't get through all my leads this week, so I didn't buy more leads. And it's like, dude, you can't have that. Like, you have to think, dude, I have to get through all these leads this week because I am buying leads next week. And don't
Yeah.
give yourself an option. Like I am going to it. And then if you're really buying, you really can't get through all your leads and you truly can't. Well, then you're just simply buying too low of intent and you need to increase the
Yeah.
intent so you can have more quality conversations.
So,
And I'll say one more thing and then we'll wrap up. I think about Ryan. Think about if you're a brand new agent
mhm.
and if I put an extra $4,000 a month in your pocket, would that change your life?
Yeah, dude, for sure.
Well, I mean, not really. Like it wouldn't change your life.
Okay, sorry. Are you saying for me to invest into leads?
No,
That's
I'm
what
saying
I'm
just like an
that's
extra
what
like
I was thinking.
I'm saying like an extra
Uh,
like $4,000 a month in income.
no,
Like
no, no. That's not that big a deal. No, definitely not.
yeah,
I
like
was
it'd be
thinking
not
like
it'd
an
be
extra $4,000 towards leads, which means like 20 grand.
exactly.
That's what.
So yeah, and like every single one of you on this call, like if I paid you an extra 4K a month, like it'd be cool. But there's not much you can do with that. Like it's basically your rent, maybe your car payment if you live in Indiana.
Yep.
Shout out to you. But it's like that's about it. That's about it. But if you consistently invest $4,000 a month into leads, would that change your life?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
100%. So you like people that are telling me like, dude, like I just can't like I can't afford leads right now. I'm like, dude, you can't afford not to invest in leads
Yeah.
because you have two options. You could either invest in it, get an ROI, and work your way up. And but if you don't, you're gonna kill your business. You're gonna starve yourself. You're gonna starve your business. So anyway, Ryan, close us out.
Well, yeah, Jonah said it really well. Jonah, that was fire. But yeah, and I think Jonah, a lot of times people that are in that spot where they don't want to spend any more on leads, like the thing you got to ask yourself is like, did I get an appropriate return on my lead spend anyway? And the answer almost all the time is like, yes, you already got an appropriate lead spend. And that appropriate lead spend is somewhere between 4 and 7x, right? Like if your return is somewhere in that, then like, dude, you can't expect anything else. I couldn't get anything else out of that. Jonah couldn't get anything else out of that. Like, don't expect it out of somebody else. So just understand that like you got to invest in yourself and do it with confidence, right? Give yourself that confidence, fake that confidence, dude. If you're confident on the phones, like people are going to buy from you. I've helped so many brand new agents get their first sale where they have no clue what they're talking about, but they sound like they know what they're talking about and people buy. And that's all that it is, bro. Just put yourself in front of the right people with confidence, close a lot of deals.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, even in for those of you that haven't heard me share this before, it's ROI burn your lead spend versus ROI on your time.
Yep.
If you got a guy and he spends $500 and turns out to 10 grand, that's a 20x ROI. That's really good.
Hmm.
But Damon, for example, Damon last month spent 16 grand on leads, he's paying his dialers, everything else. Like, let's round up. Let's say all in he was 20. Did 20 to do 100. Okay. Well, we're talking about a 20x ROI versus a 5x ROI.
Yeah.
Well, what is your overall net? You got to look at the net profit. Do you want a
Hmm.
net 9,500 or do you want a net $80,000? So even now, I mean, this last year, me and Claudia, we invested almost over $1 million. We invested over $1 million back into the business.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to get to the point where we're investing $10 million a year back into the business. Because
Mm.
the more you invest, the higher you're going to grow. That's going to get you to the next level, the more your net profit's going to be.
Yep.
So for a lot of you guys, like being new, investing in yourself is genuinely always the best ROI. Like I love it. Like ask Claudia, like we'll be laying there at night, like I'll be like reading about the stock market, looking at investments, looking into real estate, crypto, different stock. Like I do, there's something I genuinely enjoy and I run the numbers. I do the math. Like I know high level investors and I've been investing for the past 5 years. the best ROI you're going to get is always by investing in yourself. I can invest in the S&P 500 and get an 8%. I can invest in the Invesco QQQ and get a 12% return on average. I can invest in Bitcoin and get an average of a 20 or a 20% return. Or I could invest in myself and I could get a 200% return, 300%, 500% return. So, yeah, never be afraid to invest in leads and always continually be seeking and prioritizing your personal development. So, anyway, we're out of time, but guys, drop an emoji in the chat for Ryan if you took value from this. This was a really good call. Really good call.
Yeah, appreciate it. Glad we can help. Keep it real, y'all.
Guys, before we go, don't forget we're doing the recruiting incentive. We got the veteran bracket, the rookie bracket. So the winner $3,000 prize pool. So we're gonna have two winners from each category. And then if you're in the Tampa office, we're doing top three producers are going skydiving. And we've got a really solid and we got another incentive we're rolling out next month. So let's crush it. Reach out if you guys need anything. God bless.